So I could call the meeting of the Board Governance Committee meeting to order. It's the time. It's 3:05 p.m. I'd like to call the roll, please.
Sure. Online, we have Shelley Deering, and then we have Chris Letterman, Deb Johnson, Joe Wenner, Gail Moorhead, Chad Brown, and Angela Davis. And Hal Geiger is on his way.
Did we ever get confirmation that Shelley can hear us?
No, I haven't heard her yet. Shelley, can you hear us? You're muted still.
I can.
Okay, perfect.
So we approve the minutes for the two people?
Yes,
It's to approve the agenda.
but we have to approve the agenda first.
Oh, that's what I meant.
Shelley, are you on this committee?
No.
Okay, well,
Oh.
I'll sub in and move that we approve the agenda.
Thank you.
And you don't object, I'm assuming.
I do not object. Okay.
There's no one else on.
I was gonna say, I can't really tell. It's a little too small. Is there anyone?
Yeah, the only person that's on is just Shelley.
Okay, so that's for public participation.
No.
And I'll move to approve the minutes.
Okay. I'll second that. Okay. On the business,
Well, both of these are Hal's.
True.
I can speak to item D, so please.
It's
well,
And I discussed it with Hal this morning, so Hal's already been, what I'm gonna say to you, I've already said to him. Okay, he already.
okay,
So last month, at the governance meeting, we talked about board training opportunities. So we discussed this with Virginia Mason. They provided some opportunities of speakers, which came with no information, just a list of topics. When we reached back out to them, they were actually priced somewhere between $1,000 and $5,000 per speaker. So that's $5,000 per topic. So that's still on the table as an option. But in working with Virginia Mason, they pointed us to the National Rural the Center for Rural Health Leadership. And so this is an organization that works with the National Rural Health Association, and they do several different certification programs. One of them happens to be for board certification, which comes with basically 13 elements, 13 modules that board members will go through, and it covers all the education pieces that Virginia Mason kind of laid out. I did bring a flyer. I'll hand it out and you guys can look at it. But in talking with them, one of the things that's open, because we're a rural hospitals, we have the ability, hopefully, to have USDA pay for the certification for our board members. So I'm working with Brock Slaybaugh, who you guys met during your meeting. He's working with our local USDA rep up in Penncoast to see if we can get this funded. The cost is $2,000 per board member, but if we can get the USDA to pay it, nothing's out of our pocket. You guys go through all these modules. It is a 26-week program, and then every module is over the course of 2 weeks. The time commitment will be 90 minutes for a phone call, and then an additional 60 minutes where you work and do some additional stuff. So there is a time commitment to board members. So something we have to talk about, whether it's something you're willing to go through. It's pretty comprehensive program. I know they have other certifications. I know people have gone through them. They've always complimented what they offer. You also go through it with a kind of a cohort model. So there'll be other board members from other rural hospitals. You can bounce ideas off and mix them, context of that. So that's what I was bringing forward tonight. I am still waiting on Brock to confirm that USDA would pay for it. So I'm one step away from being able to discuss and offer this to the board. That's what I talked about.
That sounds good. I am not sure that all of our board members will.
Yeah, I don't know if we'd want, like, and then, so what they kind of suggested is, since we have 3-year terms, maybe you do a certain period of time, all through a different cohort, so they're not all over once, and then make it more manageable. Because I mean, we all have, lives outside of Bartlett, obviously, and so you have to balance the needs of your life with this. And we have certain board members at different points on their tenures. Some are newer board members that Chris, Ben, like, Kenny, who's coming up on maybe the end of his terms. And so different months. Maybe some of you guys don't want to go through this at all. Right?
Yeah,
So,
I mean, depending on the timeline. I've only got 1.5 years left on my total tenure with the board, so I'm not sure that it makes sense to spend
yeah,
money on me.
yeah. But we do have newer board members. This is new, Dr. King, there's several newer ones there. Agreed, that's something we'll have to consider.
I really apologize for wasting everybody's time like this. At the wrong time in my main calendar, my husband. Where are we?
Discussing training.
Yes, so I gave him the same update I kind of talked to you this morning. So I'm waiting on USDA and National Rural Health Association to get back to me on whether they'll pay for it, and then we'll come forward and talk about bringing this up as an option for board members.
Did you talk about topics?
I go through I didn't go over the Virginia Masons. I presented those last time. What I have is what's part of this curriculum. So they go over new member orientation, elements of board membership, board member responsibility, governance versus compliance, healthcare finance, community health, strategic planning, quality and patient safety, advocacy and community collaboration, relationship with the CEO and leadership development, board benchmarking, med staff, the board's role in philanthropy, and board self-evaluation. Those are the 13 modules that we covered in certification. So if you guys have questions, I can try to answer them.
That sounds very comprehensive. Is that an all or nothing?
You mean, can you do a piece or?
Yeah.
I think when you sign up, you're kind of committing to go through the whole.
If you want
certification.
The one that's probably the least valuable to us is role in philanthropy.
Yeah,
Because that's not this type of board that we are.
and I know, like,
Because we're owned by the city.
you have to attend up to 80%, I believe, to get the certification, so you do have an option to drop a couple of them if they don't make sense for you.
Even if that isn't something that we do in our hospital,
It's worth it
that's
all.
something that, it's core knowledge.
I do know, like, in the 2 weeks, you have flexibility when you do like the online webinar, but the meetings are kind of pre-scheduled, which is a little more rigid. So you do have some flexibility to go through.
And there was an announced Lisa's not here, but her son had surgery.
No, I didn't say anything about it. I should have.
Okay.
Lisa's son, Lisa texted me and then I forwarded your contact information to her. Her son had surgery and it was more complicated apparently than, and she's still,
But that popped in my head because I thought, I like the thought of this. I personally would be happy floating outside of the full board, the committee's recommendation. But then, we have the Virginia Mason, which is up there too.
Yeah. Now, Virginia Mason, I think will always be out there as an option. It's good to set speakers up, but they are having a certain level of turnover at Common Spirit. And so the CEO's resigned, the chief strategy, Cruzy. So
he's resigned.
he's giving his resignation. His last day is sometime in October.
Oh, and the CEO is resigned.
Yeah, Katul.
Katul.
He's taking a different position at a different organization.
Wow. Is Tom going with Katul?
He said he's taken 5 months to figure things out, and he's probably going to do just some contract stuff. Yeah. Yeah, it was a little bit of a shocker.
Do we have any contacts left there?
We
that
still have
worked with?
Tamara, but she was less than happy with Government Spirits. Organizational changes the last time we talked to her, but we still have Spencer, we can talk to you guys as well. With the contact. I know he's still with them.
What would the committee like to do?
I would be in favor of figuring out if USDA is gonna fit the bill first before we make any more deliberation. I don't, were you here when Joe read the horses?
No, I figured I was gonna kill somebody trying to fall in.
We discussed that.
Yeah, I would have my bears too, trying to get COVID. So I made a very weak attempt. But,
Well, it just seemed like it was like this from a comprehensive perspective of change.
so, I mean, I've got the basic idea of the topics now, and I like the fact that it's all just come back. But I'm more interested in what the committee thinks.
I think it's a good idea, and I do like the idea of, what I'd like to see is to offer this to our brand new board members as they come on. And the newer, the group that still has a term or two left on their, If
If I remember right, this is $5,000.
It's $2,000.
$2,000 per person. But do we have that budgeted? Well, if the USD doesn't pay for us, it's something.
When we have education budgeted in administration, yes. And if it's 3 members, we probably did that with the budget easily.
Mr. Chair, if they also bring back to the board to give their insights of what they've learned, it would also be beneficial for the full board to have their insights, what their takeaways of the courses.
I agree. But you were thinking we would see about sending all of the programs.
Yeah, when we talked about that, we can do everyone. The suggestion from CEO of the organization was, since we have 3-year terms, run through 3 of each cohort. To run 3 through the first cohort, we have the opportunity to go back, get the feedback, and you guys make the choice. Do you want to send 3? They do 2 to 3 cohorts a year, so that there should be some opportunity over the course of the next 12 months.
So then we would still need some more education for the other group.
Or like what Gail says, we have people going through the course, come back and perform the education, right? Train the trainer. If you guys are open to that kind of setup.
And I've never seen that work really well. When you got stuff gets.
I have high expectations for you guys. So what would the committee like to do?
I would agree with, Chris. I'm sort of on the committee, I guess. I would agree with Chris that if, it seems like a no-brainer if USDA will fund it. From my perspective, why not? And then discuss this with the rest of the board and see what I can imagine that there will be more than one of the folks that are currently on the board that might not want to make the time commitment. From my perspective, I have less than 1.5 years on my complete term. So if we have to pay for it, I would not recommend that we, for me, I'm not speaking for anyone else, but I wouldn't commit board funds, I'm sorry, hospital funds, for the tail end of my tenure. Because I would have to at least step out for a year before I can say. Not that I intend to do that.
So hypothetically, one could make a motion that we forward a recommendation to the full board.
Yeah.
Then we send 3 people this year, hope for USDA funding. Or we could make it contingent on USDA funding. Or we could do something else.
What is your? Since you're also on the board. I don't-
Well, I would be happy if someone made a motion, which I don't know if you've given the chair back to me. If you have, then I couldn't make the motion, but I'd be happy if someone else made it.
Actually, Chris is the chair. I like Chris be the chair.
Oh, okay, well then, I'm not sure, so if you're still the chair, then I guess I could make a motion that we recommend to the full board, send 3 people. Hoping that we'll get USDA funding, but if not, either way, I recommend we send 3 people. And see how this works.
I'll second that.
Yes, objection.
Are there any objections?
Okay. Then let's forward that out to the full board. Are there any other, I guess now I'm wondering, are there any, Mr. Chairman, are there any other suggestions we have for training?
The other training option that was mentioned by the CEO was through, is it through Common Spirit or is it through
Or Virginia Mesa,
Virginia Mesa?
but it's Common Spirit kind of affiliation, so technically Common Spirit.
But those opportunities would come with a cost. Up to, which is
1 to 5,000.
yeah, 1 to 5,000.
And that's just for this, that doesn't include their travel and.
That's just base fee. So whether we have, so theoretically, if we come together for a strategic planning session sometime this winter, we could maybe engage one of them to come do a virtual talk, or if we want to safely bring them on to travel. Bring them on.
Then I guess I would prefer, I would make it, if I may, make another motion. I move that we ask the CEO to consider what training he thinks is most appropriate. And if we're going to have a strategic planning session, arrange a face-to-face training through Virginia.
I'll second that.
Objection.
Well, we didn't really debate it or discuss it, but yeah, it's obvious what I'm looking for.
I think we've been talking about Virginia Mason trainings for a while, so I don't feel the need to discuss it. Okay. Shelley, do you have any comments on that? Or objections? I know you're not on. And here I am running, sorry, Chris.
You're fine. You're fine. Hey, pitch hitting, so.
Yeah, I have no objections. I think it's in the big scheme of things, it's very beneficial to provide training to our board members.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I would also like to put it on the radar of the group. There's, AHA is also going to be subsidizing training for Horty Springer come February again for credentialing. So I recommend that one of the board members be sent up to that again. Because we do have one of our board members who sits on the credentialing committee, and I think that's a valuable training.
To the chair, I would agree with that. I attended that last year. And learned a lot. It was more than just the credentialing process. It went beyond just the nuts and bolts of credentialing. It was very valuable. Risk management, a lot of risk management information. I would
Dealing
recommend.
with providers and, the whole provider process. Especially if you have a year and a half out, so we need the depth of that knowledge.
Is this something that's already scheduled?
They will be sending out information. I just had a meeting with AHA. They'll be sending that information out. We do send our med staff office and some of our providers up to that training And last year we did send a board member also.
What's the committee's thoughts on that?
That's in another calendar year. It's in the same fiscal year. We traditionally thought about these things on calendar year basis.
To the chair, yes, we have, but to the chair, I think this is something because the timeliness of it, if we wait till the third weekend or the third weekend, fourth week, whatever it is, fourth week in January, we're running out of time.
Well, I think, okay, then I'll offer a motion that we plan on sending either the member of the credentialing committee or secretary to individuals that need to. So,
And registration comes out in October, so.
okay. Then I'll offer that as a motion that we plan on sending.
And I'll second again.
The discussion or objection?
Joe, you can weigh in anytime.
Yeah, this is the most. Yeah.
No, I think that's a great plan also.
We ready to move on to the next topic? Or back to the top? That was the board self-examination. Okay.
Am I on for this?
You're on the agenda.
Yeah, that's right, I am. So I guess, we've discussed this, it's probably doesn't get on there. Actually, we've talked about it in a very crude form. I apologize, last time I said the wrong version. This is the more refined version. Jared and I've gone through it a couple of times, made little changes to it. But this is a very stripped down, simple version. I think one that we thought could be adapted moving forward without just radically thrown out. You know, adapted and improved. And I think committee members have seen it more than once. So that as an introduction, I'll offer as a suggestion for the evaluation for this year. Do you have any other thoughts?
Just that, one of the things that we made sure to include was the qualitative sections about what they're doing well, and what can improve in both areas again, that seemed to be really well received in terms of the CEO performance evaluation, to have that balance of the two types of feedback. And so we just made sure that was in here as well for each of the sections.
I did have that. Okay. I'll just try again, suggesting that we send this to, we have a list of entities, we'd send it to senior staff, CEO, but I would also suggest that we send this to union leadership as a way to engage them. I know when we talked about that previously, the committee wasn't that interested. But I'll offer that as a suggestion.
The discussion last time leaning one way or the other, do you recall?
Well, I don't think we discussed it for this survey. We discussed it for the CEO evaluation, and it was definitely like, I think most, with me favoring everybody else. I think it was good for everybody else that spoke.
I would say that from my perspective, the board has even less interaction with the union and union leaders. Our The only time the union comes up for us is when it's negotiations, or the one time in my entire tenure on the board that the union has attended a board meeting and commented. Actually, I take that back. I think there were two where there was union leadership in attendance at the board and asking to speak. So I'm not sure that I'm not sure that because there's so little interaction of their capacity to be able to evaluate the board. I could see that a little more certainly with the CEO. I was one of the ones that didn't want to that did not want to include union leadership in the evaluation of the CEO, but I feel even stronger with the board because of how little interaction that we have with the union.
I don't want to belabor this. I was going to say this and then let's just make a decision, but I can see a couple of advantages of this, and I agree, we don't have much interaction, but I see that's part of the problem. Because I remember one time the union came speaking board when I was there, they couldn't formulate what they were trying to say because they were so intimidated by trying to talk to them more. And I think that would be good for us to develop a more collegial relationship with them, even though we don't have a lot of interaction. But the other reason is to have, the reason to have that interaction with them is to provide sort of a safety valve. The one time that I remember the union leadership making their way to the newspaper is when they were so spooled up and angry that they went to the newspaper instead of went to the board with their complaints. And even if their complaints are not really appropriate or something the board can deal with, I just think it's better if we had something of a relationship with them, because we do have a union and we're not using them. Anyway, probably everybody feels the same way as last time, and if so, that's fine. British judgments.
I just have a question. Outside of a process such as this, does the union have the ability to come before the board? If there is, like you said, an issue?
Well, it's a public meeting, and every member of the public gets their 3 minutes to testify. Because they haven't ever used that, they don't know how to do it. See?
The chair, the CEO also has a quarterly meeting with the union. So if there's anything that they brought up that was oriented towards the board, or if they wanted to bring up something oriented towards the board, they would have that capacity as well. I do know that I've just anecdotally from watching over the past almost 2 years that they're oftentimes online listening. So I don't know how actively they're engaged. They obviously haven't come to speak since I've been here, I don't think. But I do know that they're actively listening to what's happening.
So if I may. So just reading from what we have before us, additionally, to ensure board has more comprehensive evaluation across senior leadership, med staff, executive committee will be asked to provide the same input. So those would be our only real benchmarks to use against what the board thinks. Unless we had subtractors.
Other thoughts? Shelley, do you have any thoughts?
You're muted, Shelley.
I'm torn about it. I get Hal's, I hear what Hal is saying about, making sure that we develop that relationship. But is this the right forum to develop that relationship by having them provide input into the, or feedback into the CEO evaluation. I, I don't know why, but it doesn't feel good to me.
To Mr. Chair. Yeah. Shelley, I just want to point out, we're not talking about the board's self-examination. So this is the union's feedback on the board that we're just using to look at. It's just, we just look at it and use it in our own evaluation of ourselves, not the CEO.
Okay. Yeah, I still have, sorry, keep bumping my thing. I still have reservations about it. It could either turn out really good or it could turn out very antagonistic. And I guess, and then if you try something and it doesn't work, then you take that back. And anytime you take something back, that doesn't go over well. So I just would want to make sure that we're making this decision and we've fully thought about it, and it is how we want to move forward with our interaction with them.
Yeah.
If, I don't disagree that we want to make sure that the hospital, which includes the board, has a solid relationship with the union, or a relationship that isn't chronically antagonistic. And knowing that sometimes the nature of the relationship inherently there's an antagonism in it, that this would not be my first stop to change that relationship. I would say that we find other avenues to start that process. And if we want to bring the union leadership on later, in the process of relationship development, I would be more receptive to that than starting out with, we want you to evaluate this.
My thoughts are, given the fact that we know there's already a channel between the union leadership and CEO, and that it is, like you said, a public meeting, people, from the union can come before the board. I have kind of the same, what I think, reservations with Shelley iterated. I don't think that I would be in favor of extending this list beyond senior leadership, med staff, exec committee to the board, to the union. My thought.
Since there's no motion yet, I'll offer a motion that we adopt the draft as our instrument evaluating the board. Since nobody's moving to modify it to add the union, just go forward as it is. Unless somebody has some other post amendment.
I'll second that. You want to?
As is, any objection? Objection, okay. Yeah. So that will come before the full board.
Yes.
At the next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. So then I'll leave this in your hands. Yep. Okay. That takes us to committee comments and questions.
My only comment is that, again, I apologize for screwing up the time. I thought I was going to be here 15 minutes early. I was all proud of myself.
Through the chair.
Yes, ma'am.
I would just like to clarify my statement in regards to input from the union. I think it's really important that there is open communication between that can occur between the board as a whole and the union. And so looking at if there's anything we can do that improves that, and then evaluate further from there.
I've been on the board now for a few years and there's no communication. None. The one time they came to a meeting, they had some concern, but they were so intimidated, they couldn't possibly articulate it. I gave people my cards and even called one of the people who came testified, and I still couldn't figure out what their concern was. So there's no communication right now. And I personally would really like to see that improve.
Mr. Chair. Well, a good way to build communication between our union members will be to come on Wednesday and barbecue and serve our employees at our 5-star celebration. And hopefully all of our board members will sign up for a slot of time.
I signed up for the evening.
I think we go that to union leadership too, so they'll be side by side with you guys.
Yeah.
There should be opportunity there.
I think that's a great way to celebrate. Thank you guys for putting that together.
That's very full on morning.
Okay, well, evening shift appreciates it. They sometimes feel like they're forgotten, which I did skip children, so excuse the pun.
I have no comments or concerns. No questions.
Has any more comments and questions? I think we're at adjournment.
I support that.
Well run the meeting. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
At 3:42.
Do we want to set, we'll set next meeting at the board? Excellent.
Yeah. Do we, I mean, we just adjourned, but
Yeah.
We need. See what else. So we've got, we worked our way through most of the important things. We'll set some goals for next year.
so the two things that we have to do is our own evaluation and the CEO evaluation. So we'll have to have 2 more meetings.